Can do right now with this technology thing.
No, that's fine. I don't complain about any way a person how we do things. You do it however you. That's perfect.
You're so awesome. I'm glad I'm getting to talk to you and get to meet you, sort of, right?
The pleasure is all mine.
Oh man, that's so sweet of you. So, Facebook people, look who we got here. We got Wayne BiggWeezy Brown. Did I get your name right?
How's it going? We have Big Weezy in the house, ladies and gentlemen.
So when they call you on stage, they just say BiggWeezy. They don't do the Wayne Brown, right?
No. They just do the Big Weezy. Yes.
That's what I'm finally catching on to this. How long have you been doing comedy, BiggWeezy?
Comedy in the comedy years, I'm still considered, like a teenager. So I've been doing it for 10 years. I've been fortunate enough to work on at the highest level.
Yes.
But normally, you're when you get to about the 10-year mark, you're accepted really as someone who's in the business. But 15, 20 years is what it's about.
Yes. Did I read it correctly on your Facebook page, BiggWeezy, that you traveled with Cat Williams?
Yes, when Cat used to tour, it's been, as a matter of fact, I think April will mark 2 years since his last tour. But yes, we used to tour together, and we still work together when it comes to writing. Although people that know Cat Williams knows that he writes his own things, that we really don't write for him. He says we write for him because we're there for inspiration or give him an idea, but he really writes his own things. He's a pure genius. But yes, I was fortunate enough after 4.5 years in comedy that he hired me to work with him.
How amazing. Do you know how much I love Cat Williams comedy? Oh my gosh. That boy.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
That boy has skills.
Well, what makes him so great, besides the fact that I got to work with him every day, is his generosity. He's such a giving, loving man. A lot of people don't know that about him. And his work ethic is through the ceiling. The guy will work 20 hours a day, every day, nonstop. He works until he just falls to sleep.
Oh.
See him fall asleep with all of his clothes on.
What?
Just throw him. Yeah.
What's your favorite comedy bit that he did when you were with him?
Well, I'm lucky because when he toured, he did about 4 years, 100 cities a year. He went for 4 years straight. A lot of people didn't know it. All right, because when you're touring, there's not, especially in the comedy world, there's not a big gigantic promotional tour like you do with your top singing performers or the top bands. So he puts together his tour, the cities, and then they put it up on Ticketmaster, and he promotes it on the radio and on television. And I say all this to say that he wrote a brand new hour every year.
Gee.
Right. So what happens is that everything that he did was extraordinary. It was like being at a special every night. I mean, when we would go on the weekend, I would sit there and watch him, and I knew exactly what was going on. It was amazing because he was just so great at what he did. So it didn't really make a difference what he did. It was always fantastic. It was always at the highest level. And because of him, I'm a better comedian.
Absolutely.
He taught me the importance of research, of being accurate, of knowing the city that you're working in and doing something that's dedicated to that city. So the first 15 minutes of his routine was always brand new, but every city. So you're doing 2 cities normally on the weekend, sometimes 3. So that's an average of 8 cities a month. That's 8 brand new 15-minute routines per month. On a yearly basis, that comes out to over 100. That's 100 brand new 15 minutes for 4 years. That's almost 400 brand new 15 minutes. And if you break that into hours, all right, that's how much brand new material he did every single weekend. That is unheard of. That is amazing.
Gee.
Right? So that's what I learned. So every time I go to a town to do comedy, I have a brand new 5 minutes dedicated to that particular city I'm visiting. That's what I learned from him. So, everything he does is fantastic. Everything.
I'm so glad to know this. I'm sure people that are listening had no idea what we were talking about. That's amazing. So tell me about you, BiggWeezy. When did you get into comedy? You said it was like you're 10 years into it, so it's about 10 years ago.
Right. I got into comedy. I have my youngest son is an actor and a model. So I got familiar with the business through him of what the entertainment was all about. And, it took me about 3 or 4 years to get the hang of it, to find out that, everything in Hollywood is scripted. And it has to be because it's entertainment. You can't do anything by chance. So, you have to make sure that everything is great. And so I discovered that part of it. I was just kind of hanging in. And then one day, I was fooling around on Facebook making stupid comments, and my daughter didn't like a comment I made about her being, looking for a husband. And she said, "Hey, Mr. Funny Man, you're not a comedian. You don't get paid." And I don't know what that did, but that just was like, "Oh, really? I'm not funny?" So I made a few calls. Took me a couple of days, and I found out I just needed to go to open mic to get started. And that's how I started. All right. That's how I got started. So my comedic birthday is September the 15th. All right. And so this September the 15th will mark 10 years that I started this journey in comedy. Wow. That's how I started. And then I realized she was right. I wasn't funny at all. She was, because when you're sitting around with your friend,
yeah,
they're telling you how great you are. You really think you're funny until you get up in front of a bunch of strangers who don't know nothing about you, who are not connected with you, and they don't have any idea about the stories you're talking about.
Exactly.
All right, with your friends, you're talking about, "Oh, remember that time in high school?" And then we're all falling out laughing.
Yeah.
Well, at age, nobody knows about that time when you were in high school. So you have to learn to tell jokes and write jokes, and that is the hardest thing that I've ever had to learn in my life.
It is the hardest thing. People, yes. I used to teach it at a comedy club in Portland, Oregon, and people would come in and they're like, you could tell they're like, "How do I get famous, and when can I have a Netflix special? When will I be headlining in the big..." You don't even know how to write a joke yet.
Right. That's exactly what I tell people. Anytime I meet a new comedian and we connect, and they're going to open mic, the first thing I do is I will text them or email them something about joke structure. The proper way of the setup of the joke, how the punchline is really a surprise or a misdirection or a left turn, whatever you want to call it. That's what it is, and how we tag it, and what a callback is, and how we put it together. So I send them that information. There's one comedian I met in Las Vegas, and she was pretty much up there just, talking shit, as I used to say. But she had something going. And so I remember we were speaking, and I sent her a text message. I said, "Just when you learn how to tell jokes, this is really going to be something." And she was so offended. She didn't talk to me for about a year. And probably with about a year and a half in, she contacted me. She told me, "I know what you were talking about now. You're absolutely right. We did a show together about a year and a half later. There she is before the show, going through her joke book, going through her cards, setting up her set, everything. All right, and she has really, really come such a long way. But there are some people, how dare someone that said, "Oh, I'm naturally funny." There's no such thing as naturally funny.
Nope.
You have to learn how to tell jokes. You have to learn how to put it together. All right, and I had 5 years where it was just no fun because I get on stage and it just not working.
Yep.
It was just not working. And there were things that I just could not do. And I would try and do them. And they're correct. Over time, you learn how to do it. It starts to come easier to you, writing the jokes. And, and it's really about your voice, which I tell them, your voice is a code word for style in our business.
Code word for what?
Your style. What your style is. Because when I'm on stage, my voice is not what I am off stage. All right? I get on stage, I speak a certain way, a certain intonation in my voice, a certain way I carry myself. That's my act. All right? And I never do anything that's not scripted. Even my riffs are scripted. All right? And that's because we're professional. And when I get a new comedian that says something like, "Well, I'm naturally funny, I can't script anything," I said, "Sure. Yeah, you go to a concert of your favorite singer and they decide to change the lyrics to the song, right? Because they don't feel like learning the song. So I'm just going to change the lyrics to the song. I'm just going to just do it this way." And you go to see Beyonce and she says, "I'm not really going to dance. All that rehearsal is too much work. I'm just going to sit here and sing from a chair." No, we're professional entertainers. Everything's scripted.
That's right. And I mean, you can kind of, if somebody drops a glass, you can make a comment about that, or, you can do a little bit of crowd work, but you can even plan that ahead because there's all sorts of the same kind of people everywhere.
It's absolutely. I have so many, I call them scripted riffs. That's the term I came up with. I have so many scripted riffs. I will go through what I could never really a crowd work guy. I do it now. All right. But when I first started, I never did crowd work. If someone says, "You never do crowd work," I said, one day I'm going to work for someone in an arena setting where crowd work won't work.
It's true.
All right. And so that's why I did that. Then I found out it wasn't true because they've got these guys with cameras and microphones, and you can point someone out and do crowd work that way when you're in front of 9,000 people. But the bottom line is, but no, I'm always ready for whatever, and someone yells out or something. But that very rarely happens. Now I kind of welcome it because it enhances the show.
Amen.
When I first started, I was just into my act. I got there, I did my act. There was no, there was no scripted riffing. There was no kind of spontaneity to it. Because that's what we do. I tell people, what we do is we make it look like it's never been done before, but we do it every night the same thing. So what I started doing is I started scripting my crowd work. All right. And like I tell hosts, the first thing I do is interview the audience. And that's the important thing. Any birthdays, anniversaries, how long you guys been together, how long you've been married. It's just like I finally got one that I've been waiting to use for years. Okay. Found a couple, been married for 45 years. All right. And so I got them comfortable, went through the show, then, in the middle of my routine where I'm talking about relationships, I pointed out and said, "Look at this couple over here. It's been fantastic because now I got them comfortable. I can go anywhere I want. I don't have to be older now because I'm connected." All right. So I turned to the couple and I said, "You got to give this lady the biggest hand in the world. I mean, she's been married 45 years, the same dick for 45 years. That's amazing." All right. And so, way to use that for years. All right. Just was never, because it works with 45 years. It may be 30 years, but it doesn't work with 8 years.
Yeah.
It doesn't work with 12 years, but it worked. So I finally had somebody that was, married 45 years, and I was able to pull that one out.
I love that.
So I always have a lot of them that I'm ready to pull out and make it sound good and things like that. But every now and then, you do it when you're on stage enough every night are some replies that are just, you just get really good at replying.
Yes.
You know, because the thing is not to insult your customer. I tell the new comic, don't insult your customer. These are our customers.
That's right.
You insult them, they're never coming back. The thing that bothers me the most is when someone says, oh, I can't sit in the front, because at all of my shows, I personally see everyone.
You do?
I'm at a comedy club, right? And I said, you know, I'll tell them, look, listen, I'll seat everyone. And they're taking tickets, they're coming in, I'm seating them, because they don't have any idea who I am. They see the name BiggWeezy, sure, there may be a picture of me on the calendar on the at the club's website or something like that, but for the most part, they don't know that. I'm seeing them myself. I'm establishing my connection right there. So by the time I get on stage, they're ready for me. I'm already ready to take wherever I need to go, but I have them up front.
Wow.
From front to back. And they'll tell me, I'm afraid to sit in the front. I don't want to get talked about. And I explain to them, we're professionals. We're not going to insult you. We're not going to make you feel bad. We're going to have fun with you. I'm not going to do anything that's going to make you feel bad, because you're my customer. I want you to come back. The average person sees 2 comedy shows maybe in their whole lifetime, right? So why in the world would I screw them up coming back again when I'm never going back to a comedy show? They talked about me so bad.
Wow.
Right? These are customers. And so there's no way in the world that I would insult a customer. But that's why I personally seat everyone. Get them comfortable, get them ready for the show, and we go out there and we have a great time.
That's a beautiful idea. You just taught me a trick.
That's it. Always, you know, seat them yourself. I remember I was at the Comedy Palace, and I said, no, I got it. And I was standing right there, and I'm joking with them as I'm sitting them and singing in the front. And then, you know, I sent someone there, and they said, oh, I don't want to sit there. I said, listen, you didn't even pay for that seat. I said, that's the VIP seat. I'm giving you 2 VIPs. You only spent $25 to get in here. That's a $50 seat. All right, so I'm going to give you the $50 seat. Well, what if they talk about me? I said, the worst thing that can happen is I trip and fall off the stage and land on you. That's the worst thing. Then laugh, right? And then I see them.
Wow. That's so sharp of you. When you've been doing comedy, what's some of the funny stuff that's happened that's off the script that you remember to this day?
Gosh, it's really tough because I've been so regimented, right? Because my first mentor, the guy that I took my basic training from and my advanced training from, was the Greg Wilson. And
Greg Wilson?
Yes.
The Vegas guy.
Yes.
I'm here in Vegas.
Yes. The Greg, because he does the dirty a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And Greg was like, never do anything new on stage. Make sure you're always prepared on stage. And so for 7 years, you couldn't get me to do anything on stage that I wasn't prepared for. I become a lot more open to say my standard set, right? But my standard set used to be word for word, okay? What I do now is I do my standard set, but I incorporate it with a little bit with more conversation and less setup punchline. That's where my growth is coming from, all right? So because of that, I can have a conversation and then use my punchlines during that part of my set, and now my set becomes a lot more natural, a lot more spontaneity. I'm getting better responses from the audience, and of course I know when they're going to laugh anyway. I always tell comedians, the new ones, you tell the audience when they're going to laugh, and then you shut up and let the laugh marinate. Don't step on your laughs.
Yes.
All right? Don't step on your laughs, So for me on stage, it just very rarely happens. But I do have a story from LA Comedy Club.
Oh, I love LA Comedy Club.
One night I was at the LA Comedy Club, and I was doing my act about, it's called Apple with Smoked Bacon. And in the middle of my act, I was talking about eating something. So a guy yells out, "You look like you eat everything."
Whoa.
And I'm like, oh my God, finally I get to use this one. Okay? And I'm ready. And I said, said, of course I eat everything, sir. I said, as a matter of fact, I'm going to give you some pointers tonight. So when you're with your wife and you're ready to go down on her, I said, as a matter of fact, take notes. You're going to take notes, sir? And then everyone starts laughing. I said, take notes, right? We're going to put guacamole on her coochie, sir. All right? And then I take it from there. So when I get off the stage, someone says, oh my God, man, that was fantastic. That was a great riff. I said, no, I wrote that shit 3 years ago. I've just never been able to use it. So I remember that one. And what that told me is that I was so good at delivering the bit that no one knew that I had written the bit.
Wow. How smooth is that?
Yes.
That's seamless. Seamless delivery. That's a great compliment.
It was a great compliment. And that's because I'm constantly doing comedy. I don't listen to music when I drive. I'm doing bits in my head as I'm driving. If I get an idea, I pull over, I write it down. If I wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning and I get an idea, and I write it down. And then what I also do is on my Facebook page, is anytime I come up with something that's funny, whether it's vulgar or clean, clever or not, anything that is I post it. That's my date stamp. The post is my date stamp to my bit.
Yeah.
So if I make up a word, like the other day I made a word, I called it a meatitarian, all right? Which is a person that eats meat, which is the opposite of a vegan or a vegetarian, okay? So now that I came up with that word, I don't know if anyone else has used that word, so then I researched to see if anyone else has used that word on YouTube. So I go on YouTube, I find no one else has used meatitarian. I said, okay, so now I put it on Facebook as I write it on a phrase, put it on Facebook. Now it's a date stamp. So if anyone says, hey, that's mine, well, we compare our date stamps.
Oh, I love it.
So that's how, right? Because when I'm working with Cat, anything that we come up that's funny belongs to him.
Got it.
All right? That's part of the contract.
Right.
So when we're talking, and he never keeps anything. We'll be talking and something will be funny. He goes, that's yours. That's exactly what he says.
Oh.
All right. And one day I asked him about it, and he says, what happens is that if you write something that's really good, keep it for yourself. That's what he says. Keep it for yourself. I have enough going on in my life already. Keep it for yourself. And so that's how he helps us get better as writers.
Wow. And so you traveled with him for like 4 years, 4.5 years?
Well, technically,
Yeah.
I got fired times.
That happens.
I got fired, then I got rehired a year later, then I got fired again, then I got rehired 4 months later, then I got fired again, then got hired 2 months later. All right? And so out of the 4.5 years, I probably really did 2 years. But 4.5 sounds a lot better.
Yeah. I know people with that kind of record in the military. Come out with less rank than they went in. You're an E-1.
Right. Right. So it was, and what happens is, and if he tells you the story, he tells you, I never fired you, Easy. I never fired you. And it's true. He never did. Someone else did.
Okay, so my favorite thing that he ever said was that whole thing he did on Britney Spears and Kevin Federline.
Wow.
Do you remember that?
That is yeah. I remember it very little. You probably know it a lot better than I do.
Oh my gosh.
What makes it so good is that he takes no prisoners when it comes to celebs.
I like that.
When it comes to celebs, he takes no prisoners. He tells you the truth, which is what comedy is about. It's about telling because it's funny. Yeah. The truth is funny. So him being where he is in his career, and what he does and the choices he made, he's unaffected by what he does. You can't stop him from doing comedy. All right? When he decides he's going to tour, all right, then, AEG is right there, ready. They're there. No problem. Where do you want to go? Right? He picks the arenas. He picks the cities. He picks the dates. He picks the price of attendance. He picks everything. All right? The same way we produce a room is the same way he produces his tour.
Gee.
Right? He does all of the work.
What was it like? What was it like to be around Leslie Jones? I adore her.
Leslie Jones, it was great because I knew Leslie before she is where she is now.
Really?
Yes, and I was intimidated by Leslie.
Wow.
This is how it works. I was a young comedian, a couple of months in. One day, I'm walking by the OR, which is the original room at the Comedy Store. All right? I'm walking by and I see her on stage, and she's just killing it. All right? But she's killing it by doing comedy that's not standard Comedy Store comedy. I can walk into a room and see a guy standing on stage and say, oh my God, this is a Comedy Store comedy. Because I can tell by the way he delivers his jokes, the style of jokes, and things like that. Leslie didn't do that, all right? Because when Mitzi was passing people through at the time, and you know, if Mitzi loved you, you were going to get passed through, all right? So I saw Leslie, and she was so good, and I was so green, I would just look at her from afar, right? And I would just, you know, and I read up on her, and I knew about her, and how long she had been doing comedy, and she had taken some abuses, actually, as well. But she'd already been on television and all of these type of things. And one day, after about a year and a half, I got enough guts to walk up to Leslie Jones and introduce myself. I said, hi, my name is BiggWeezy. I just wanted to introduce myself to you. And so Leslie, what Leslie does is she daps me out. All right? Now, daps me out means she shakes my hand like a dude. She goes, boom, here, it's good to meet you. We do all this shit, right? And all that. And it's all cool. Cool. Right? And I walked away and I was like, what the fuck was that? All right? So I catch up with her maybe 3 months later, 4 months later. I walk up to her. She's ready to dap me out again. I said, whoa. We're not doing this. She goes, what? I said, you're a female comedian. I said, I know what the female comedians go through. All right? I know the bullshit you probably had to go through, and you have to have this defense mechanism so you dap people out and everything because that makes you feel like, okay, you know, you've got a buffer. I said, but that's not going to be our interaction. And she goes, what's our interaction? I said, when I see you, I'm going to walk up to you. I'm going to give you a light embrace. I'm going to whisper in your ear, Leslie, you look fantastic tonight. It's always great to see you. And then I'm just going to walk the fuck away. And that's what we're going to do every time I see you. And that's what we always used to do.
Oh.
All right? And, like, you know, on my Facebook page, it says I open for Leslie Jones. All right? Well, see, what people don't realize as a comedian is anytime you're on the show with anyone that's got a name and they're closing the show, well, technically you've opened for them.
Exactly.
All right? All right? So that's how it was. It was the, I can't remember the name of the bar, but it was in Hawthorne, California. Oh, the Falcon Inn. The comedian that used to produce that show is Ryan Reeves. Ryan Reeves used to be the godfather of South Bay here in Los Angeles area. He'd have like 6 or 7 rooms going every night. All right? If you wanted to open a room in the South Bay, you had to kick some money up to Ryan Reeves because he was like the godfather.
Wow.
It was like the mafia thing. All right? So, anyway, one night, Leslie Jones is on the show. We're at the Falcon Inn. There's like 30 people in there. And we all go up and do our thing. And Leslie, the 45 minute, all right, has them on the floor. Then, after the show, she's sitting in a bar stool by the door holding up her DVDs for sale. All right? And she sat there for pretty much a whole hour. I go to Ryan into the show. You know, I said, Ryan, I'm getting ready to leave. He goes, all right, good job, BiggWeezy, appreciate you. I said, dude, where's my $20? He goes, oh, you're not getting paid tonight. We gave all the money to Leslie. So Leslie owes me $20.
Jeez.
That was the time. The first time I ever opened for Leslie. Second time was a restaurant, right? Restaurant probably sat about 10 people. producing the show was Doc Willis. All right, comedian Doc Willis. Right, he used to work at the Comedy Store. So Doc's producing the show. We get there. We're there for about a whole hour. No one shows up in the show. So the show gets canceled. All right? And so we don't end up doing the show. So I end up having a whole conversation with Leslie. I remember that night, you know, as if we're getting ready to leave, I'm getting ready to do the embrace thing again. And Leslie says, listen, we have already done it once tonight. We're not doing it again tonight. But, you know, I talked to her, you know, so we would, show up the time, so we sit down, we talked for like a half hour, 45 minutes, and those were my interactions with Leslie. So she moved to New York to do Saturday Night Live.
My goodness. So, of all the comics that are still alive, who would you like to do comedy with? Like, who would you like to open for, or be on the road with, or hang out with, write jokes with?
You know, that's a really good question. I've never really thought about that because, you know, I get to interact with a lot of high-level comedians. And, you know, for instance, the guy that cuts my hair, his name is KG Superstar. KG works on the set of The Neighborhood with Cedric the Entertainer.
Whoa.
Does Cedric the Entertainer's hair. But he's been cutting Cedric's hair for years, probably 10, 12 years. Well, he also cuts Marlon Wayans' hair. He also cuts Chris Spencer's hair. He also cuts Gina Yassere's hair. As you know, Gina Yassere created that show, Bob Hart's Abishola, that comes on, I think, Thursdays on, and is it NBC or CBS? And she also plays Kimmy on the show. So I was joking with her last time I saw her. I said, that's double duty. You know, you're like one of the producers, one of the creators, and you're an actress. That's 3 chats.
Yeah.
You know, chats, right? So I get to interact with these people all the time. And I never think about opening for them or writing with them. I'm just happy that they talk to me.
Yeah.
And that, you know, so that's really something that's, you know, really important. I enjoy the job that I have with Kat right now, you know, because when I was writing my new hour 8-9 months ago, he helped me with it.
Kat did?
Yes.
That's so cool.
Yes. We sat in the garage and we'd be writing and he would give me the ideas. He said, why don't you try this? And that was fantastic. I said, you know, I'm going to tell people you write for me.
That's so special. The pandemic hit and everything is shut down and you're at a high level, so it's probably hit your pocketbook really hard.
Yeah, of course it did. But, you know, I was prepared.
Okay.
You know, so it's not affecting me like it is other comedians. You know, you know, I was prepared for it. You know, it's like something that Melanie Carmacho said to me once. Melanie Carmacho says, you save all of your tour money and you spend all of that little rinky-dink show money that you get. That's what you spend. But that tour money, that big money, because you got to remember, you can make on it, you know, when you're working for Cat, you can make $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 a weekend, right? That's that money that you put away. That's that money that you save.
Wow. That was great advice, right?
Yep.
Saving it for a rainy day, and we're hitting the rainy day time. How are you getting through the pandemic? Is your sense of humor keeping you afloat? Is your comedy, just being a comedian, like I'll open the door and I'll think, oh God, I just want to shut the door, you know, like the things we think as comedians can help us cope. And if you tell me a few things that you think when you go out your door or see people, it might help other people cope.
Well, I'm lucky because I have my brother. My brother is funny as fuck. And I'm telling you, if we would have did comedy together, like the Mooney Twins or Corey and Chad, or some of these other, you know, the Smothers Brothers, you know, my brother and I could have been the sky's the limit. And he's always, he will think of something and he will call me, you know, 7 o'clock in the morning. He goes, listen, I just got a bit. Use it if you want to use it, but I just got this bit, right? And he's on point. He's always funny. All right, so I get a lot of stuff. Right before you and I went on, he gave me this whole thing about toilet paper. He gave me a whole toilet paper bit for the coronavirus before we went on, and it was really funny. So when it comes to jokes and the pandemic, it's like Greg Wilson said on a post a couple days ago. When this is over, there's going to be a lot of parallel jokes from comedians writing about this. So don't. What he's basically saying, don't walk around saying someone stole your joke, because we're all thinking about what we're going to be writing about when it comes to the corona and all of those things.
Yeah. Like I live in I was in the Army, and I live in what's called Veterans Village for military people, right? And so for me, the pandemic was, I have a personal spin that wouldn't apply to anybody else's life.
Right.
Like usually the men are standing guarding the perimeter. They look like they're on duty, and because of their PTSD. And us women are in the middle, just looking like little peacocks, and they're, stuff like that and then we got one day, this one guy was carted off by 2 men in hazmat suits because he had the virus.
Oh, wow.
But he got kicked out of the hospital because he didn't keep his gown covering up the spots that were supposed to be covered up. So they kicked him out before they found out he had the virus. So he came back here with the virus, hung out with everybody. The next day, another person gets carted off. So it's kind of specific to what I experienced. So I have to find a way to make it funny.
Well, yeah, and that just comes with time and experience, it just comes with time and experience, and so that's the great thing about when you're recognizable and famous. You're funny the minute you walk on stage.
Exactly.
You have to screw that up. All right? You have to screw it up.
Now, when you went traveling with Cat Williams, did people assume that you were, funny because you were there with Cat? Because why would he bring anybody?
No, they thought I was a security. They always thought I was security. All right? Every time we went somewhere, they thought I was security. They would come and ask me questions. People would walk up to me and say, listen, you think I can get a picture with Cat Williams? I said, I'm not sure. You have to talk to security. And I started getting frustrated. I'm a comedian, motherfucker. They always thought I was security. Because, if you look at a lot of my photographs, I always have a black T-shirt on or a gray T-shirt on. And so you wear that with your black slacks and black, shoes. You look like you're security. I used to tell them, first thing, security can run. I can't run. But, yeah, but...
So when you get out of the pandemic, what are the top 3 cities you would love to go do comedy in right out the gate?
Well, I'm going to come to not Hawaii. I'm going to come to Las Vegas, all right, and fulfill my stuff with the people I had shows lined up with. And then I'm trying to get to Atlanta, and I'm trying to get to Texas, the Dallas and the Houston area.
Nice.
And maybe Oklahoma. Those are my, I've already talked to my manager, and some of these places like Texas is opening up, and Atlanta is already open. So may as well see if we can start getting some bookings right away. If I'm going to get infected, I'm going to get infected in Atlanta.
Yes, absolutely. I heard that parts of Utah, the comedy clubs in Utah are opening up tomorrow.
Well, Utah never closed.
Is that right?
The governor never issued any orders in Utah, but there were some people there, like you're right, there were some clubs that closed down and some other places that closed down from the local governments. But the governor of Utah never declared pretty much a state of emergency. At least that's what I remember reading.
Yeah.
And he never officially had the state clothing, clothing, but Utah. But yeah, I have a good friend of mine, Mr. Aaron Wesley, produces down there in the Sandy, Utah area, shows and things like that. And I know he's chopping at the bit to get back there to work there.
So speaking of Utah, are you planning on doing a dry bar special? Does that excite you?
No, I'm lazy.
I didn't see you as the type of person that would be attracted to the dry bar comedy scene. Like when I get talking to you, I don't think so.
When it comes to telling jokes, of course I'll do it. It's just, that's just the way.
Yeah.
But when I say I'm lazy, all right, I'm the type of guy that only wants to do a half an hour. Okay, I get on, they have to wake me up. But once they call my name and I walk on the stage, I'm ready to go. All right, but Damon Wayans told me once, less is more. I never forgot that. And when I get off stage, people are like, oh my God, I wish you were up there longer. I'll do 45 minutes worth, but, less is more with me. So, but yeah, I'll do dry bar. I'll do whatever. It doesn't make any difference, as long as I only need one person in the audience. That's my requirement. I just have that one person there. I'm going to do my act.
Do you have an Amazon Prime special or a Netflix or anything people can go watch to support you?
Absolutely, positively not. As a matter of fact, I taken down most of my YouTube. I put some stuff up, but I never really liked watching my comedy. And I don't know what it is, but I just haven't. I learned I'm never satisfied.
Yes.
Anybody I've ever worked with at a high level, they're never satisfied.
Well, I'm not at a high level, but I can't stand looking at my own stuff.
Right. I'm never satisfied. So, not yet. As a young comedian, it happened to me a couple times. You have one of those good sets. You walk off and you say, oh, I got this shit down now. Then it just takes that next show to remind you ain't crap. And it took me 5 years to realize I'm never going to be what I think I'm going to be. So I have to achieve greatness every night. That's the goal.
I love it.
So what people can do is they can, stick to my Instagram pages. I am BiggWeezy for comedy and BiggWeezy for content. And
so wait. For Instagram, it's what?
I am BiggWeezy.
Okay.
BiggWeezy's BiggWeezy.
Yeah.
That's my Instagram page. That one's dedicated to comedy, where I'm going to play who I played with. BiggWeezy's with content. I'll put videos up with opinions, other videos that other people have produced, other comedic videos, and that's what that page is for. And then, of course, on my Facebook, I put my little phrases there and some content up as well.
Okay, perfect. And so it doesn't do any good to send them to your YouTube, right?
Yeah, there's some stand-up on the YouTube. Yeah.
And your YouTube.
BiggWeezy, BiggWeezy.
Great. Awesome. Do you have anything you want to leave people with to get through the pandemic?
Absolutely. Stay at home. Be safe, especially in Los Angeles, because I've been zooming around on the 405, the 10, and the 5, and the 101 freeways, and there's been no traffic. I think it is too dangerous for you to be out on the road. Also, stay away from my drive-thrus like Burger King, McDonald's, Pop Chicken. You can get the corona from those places. I would stay away from those places. Also, don't shop at Ralph's between 8 p.m. and 9 p.m. You'll normally find me there. Stay home. Stay away from this. So this way I can continue to travel at my leisure the way that I want to travel. Thank you very much. Oh, and always wear your mask, because I need to be protected from people like you.
That's beautiful. Well, I guess this is kind of our time that's up. Is there anything else you want to say at all?
Yeah, well, I want to thank the most important people in my life right now. That's my brother, Ricardo, and my mom, Edith. Without them, none of this would be possible because they provided everything that I have in my life to get to this point. How by the way that I was raised, and my brother with the support that he gives me, he's always been there for me. And I'm telling you, my brother's funny.
Oh.
Yes. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, BiggWeezy. When you come to Vegas, will you let me know so I can come out and support you?
Absolutely.
I'm like 2 bus stops away from the LA Comedy Club.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And I go to all the dirty at 12:30, so I'll be there if you're there.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I haven't. Last time I was there was almost a year ago, end of May.
It's time to go back.
Time to go back. Let Gabe know when I'm in town.
Yeah. I'll see you there. But let me know. Let me know when you come.
I will.
Okay.
Take care. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming. Bye, Brad. What is on my mind? There's somebody on here named Brad, and that was in my head. Thank you, BiggWeezy. Have a good night. Love you. Called him Brad because Brad Mesereau's on here. What in the heck? Hi guys, that was fun. I can't believe he got 4 years into comedy and he got to travel with Cat Williams. Oh my gosh. See you guys later. Hope you